Okay, so yes, we're back now for part 2, or would I say phase 2 of our presentation today. Of course, we have Leonard is still connected in the meeting. So it simply means that if we have any question, of course, that has to do with his presentation, which he already had done earlier, we'll obviously be able to go back to those questions. But right now, we're moving on to the second phase of our presentation today. And of course, if you listen to all Leonard has shared today, he has particularly spoken about his journey, starting out his career in Nigeria, of course, making that decision to move to Canada to acquire that MBA, all of the steps he took before leaving Nigeria, all of the steps he took, of course, whilst, of course, studying in Canada. And he also shared with us, of course, the different kind of institutions or the different kind of programs that are available, as it were, in Canada today. And yes, he also shared his experiences, moving on from, a student visa, getting, of course, his postgraduate work permit, getting his PR, but more importantly, getting to earn his citizenship. He also spoke about the fact that, he didn't have to move with his family immediately, but of course, part of the key plan was to ensure that his family can join him in Canada, almost, when he's done with his education. And today, his family, of course, everyone lives fully in Canada. Of course, as a Canadian, he has the flexibility of moving across the world, including the United States, without requiring a visa prior to, of course, traveling to these places. Now, we know for a fact that all of these things, will not be possible without financing. All of these steps would not be possible without financing. We all need financing to make this dream possible. Even if you earn, 20 million, 30 million, 50 million in a place like Nigeria, you obviously wouldn't want to just spend all of that money, trying to acquire an education. You obviously want to also buffer yourself against, of course, emergencies or whatever situation that might pop up. So it makes absolute sense that people come to ProconnectPAY, wanting to fund their education. And the good thing is that in ProconnectPAY, we are known to democratize access to global educational opportunities for high potential candidates of African descent. So if you're an African, if you're a Nigerian, if you're a Ghanaian, if you're a Ugandan, if you're from Kenya, you're from Liberia, you're from South Africa, you're from Uganda, wherever it is you're from, even if you're in other parts of the world, ProconnectPAY is known to democratize access to global educational opportunities. And we do this for high potential candidates. How do we know, of course, who's an high potential candidate? These are individuals that, despite the anomaly that Nigeria has, despite the anyhowness of our country, despite the anyhowness of our continent, you've been able to make commensurate progress professionally. So whether you own a business, whether you are self-employed, whether you are an entrepreneur, whether you're a startup founder, whether you're an employee, whatever it is that you do, you've been able to make certain professional progress, you've been able to build a portfolio of successes, whether it's in Ebonyi State, whether it's in Lagos, whether it's in Abuja, whether it's in Kano, no matter how small or no matter how big. The key is, are you moving forward? Are you making progress? Are you building that level of consistency that allows you to compete globally with your peers? Those are the kind of individuals ProconnectPAY is interested in funding. And of course, why do we want to fund people like this? Like Leonard, it is easy, of course, for you to attain success if you build a culture of excellence or hard work of making it in Nigeria or Ghana, because the economies you are going to rewards excellence, rewards hard work, rewards forthrightness, rewards accountability. So if you've embedded this culture, this attitude of high potential individuals in Africa, it is easy to bring the same mindset, the same attitude, the same culture to an economy that gets to recognize and reward those kind of virtues. So for ProconnectPAY, the major reason, of course, we fund people is to ensure that we're funding the right kind of people with the right kind of mindset. And we do this majorly because we know that if you acquire a global education, it is easy to, of course, find your feet in these economies where you aspire, of course, to live permanently. Now, the funding we provide in ProconnectPAY, we do not expect you to give us a collateral. We do not expect you to give us a guarantor. We do not expect you to give us your kidney. And we obviously do not expect you to give us your destiny. We simply invest, like I mentioned earlier, in your potential. We invest in your future potential. We know that if you acquire a global education with your current track record, with your current success, with your current level of awareness, there is no way you wouldn't come to the US or Canada and also make it in this economy. Of course, you might not be wealthy like a Dangote or an Adenuga or a Tony Elumelu, but you'll be very comfortable financially, you'll be very comfortable professionally, and you will see yourself making impacts on a global scale. So in ProconnectPAY, we are very big, of course, in investing in your future potential. And we do this for high potential candidates. And just to conclude, of course, this particular place, we are the only African-focused edu-fintech company that provides this level of financing to enable you acquire a global education. And just to say this, that we provide up to $100,000 does not mean you must take $100,000. No. If what you need is $20,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 or $50,000, we would only give you what you really need. So some of you might have your personal savings. Some of you might be fortunate, you might get a scholarship. Some of you might have a family member or a friend or somebody willing to sponsor you. Whatever balance you need, that's what you get. If your school says you only need $40,000 for your 2-year program, that is exactly what, of course, we'll be giving to you. And the financing we provide, what are the key elements of the financing we provide? We pay for your tuition. We pay for your cost of living. Your cost of living is your housing, which is what you call accommodation, utility expense, paying for electricity, power, all of those things come with your housing. Buying your internet, buying your internet plan monthly, whether it's the internet at home or the internet you probably use on your phone. Your transportation, money to buy your textbooks, your exercise books, whatever it is that has to do with your cost of everyday living, ProconnectPAY will provide that financing. Of course, the kind of financing we provide for cost of living is not the one that requires that you're going to be eating in a restaurant every day out there. No, we expect that you should cook, and that's the good thing. If you cook on your own, you can simply buy your food stuff from an African supermarket, and of course continue to cook your Nigerian-based meals. So that way you wouldn't have to probably start dealing with going to restaurants, probably eating out there, and of course eating food that you probably do not understand. We also get to pay for your health insurance, and we get to reimburse your flight tickets. So let me explain what I mean by we get to reimburse your flight tickets. When you leave Nigeria for Canada, whether you're going to New Brunswick or you're going to Vancouver or Toronto, or you're probably going to any other part of Canada, the ticket, the money used in buying your ticket, the receipt they give to you, and your boarding pass, you will peg two of them together. You will take it to the finance department of your school and tell them, guys, I want a reimbursement of up to $2,000 for my flight ticket I purchased on my own. Now, they will take that thing, send it to us, we get to approve it, disburse the 2K to them, then they get to reimburse back your money to you. So they wouldn't give you the money instantly. There's a process to how they will reimburse the money to you. We get to add your flight tickets, $2,000, alongside your tuition money, when of course the money is being calculated and approved on your behalf. So your school will need to make the request to us, we disburse back to you, and of course your school gives back to you, in this case an instance. Now, what is the major end game? For every one of us gathered here today, what is the major end game? Secure a student visa. Of course, before you secure a student visa, you need to have gotten your admission. You need to have made up your mind on the school you are going to, gotten your admission, gotten your financing, submit your application, then of course, secure your student visa, earn your permanent residency, and of course, in the long run, become a Canadian citizen. Like I mentioned before, is the major end game for a lot of immigrants that decide to go to Canada. In assessing ProconnectPAY services, there are three major layers to assessing our financing. There's the finance layer, which of course is the loan. Now, because you do not have a rich family, a wealthy uncle or wealthy auntie, or you probably do not come from a background where, you probably have that financial wherewithal to pay, $50,000, $40,000 to enable you acquire a global education. So let me not say rich or wealthy, for the fact that every one of us are responsible for our upkeep. That makes us rich and wealthy in our own way. And we're not begging, right? So if we do not have that financial muscle to pay $40,000 or $50,000, you begin to ask yourself, okay, where can I get financing to enable me study abroad? So you might have thought of scholarship. that might be too tough for me to compete for. You might have thought of that, wealthy uncle or family member or friend or maybe politician that can fund you. Well, that also too can be tough because you're likely not the only person going to them for support. So you now go to the third option, which is unconventional, which is probably not very popular in a climate like ours. Can I take a loan to study abroad? This loan I'm taking is more like an investment into my future. Now, because I want to, study abroad, work abroad, become a citizen, I am willing, of course, to take this option and this particular pathway. And let me say this extra information I'm giving, but let me just say this now. Now, do you know that in the US and Canada, that's what they call refinancing your loan? It's also popular in Nigeria. I don't know about other parts of Africa. So it simply means that if you took a loan from us for $70,000, our interest rate is quite high. A typical Canadian wouldn't take our loan. That's why we don't sell our loans to Canadians in Canada. So even someone like Leonard that's a Canadian, we cannot sell our loan to him because he's already Canadian. He can access way cheaper financing in Canada. So see what happens when you graduate from school. I'm just giving this extra Jara information. When you graduate from school and you start earning a salary in a bank, you can go and meet your banker. That's it. Bank, guys, I have this loan I took as a student where I get to pay this certain percentage interest per annum. Can you guys buy the loan by paying it off? So the good thing now is that the bank will only pay off your loan and the interest that is due at the point they were paying it off. There's no penalty for paying on time. You can pay off your loan and you only pay interest for the period you had a loan with you. So what the bank will simply do is they will then refinance the loan with their local Canadian interest rates, which is way cheaper than ours. So that way, the burden of paying higher interest totally reduces. The opportunity to even pay longer is also there because now this is your personal banker you are currently dealing with. So it's just a little financial trick and advice that, of course, you can explore in the long run. So just think about that. But that's just free bonus I've given to you. Now, of course, there's the admission processing layer. Leonard already spoke about University of New Brunswick. Like I mentioned earlier, there are 3 major schools we provide cost of living loan to in Canada. In Canada as a whole, we support 35 schools, but there are 3 major institutions in Canada where our cost of living loan applies. University of New Brunswick, Northeastern University, the Toronto and the Vancouver campus, and Ontario Ontario College of Management and Technology in Toronto. These are the 3 major schools our cost of living loan applies to. So the focus of today's presentation would be on these schools because we want to ensure that you are getting the full bouquet of our financing. Then, of course, once you secured your admission, you secured your financing. Without a student visa, you cannot resume abroad. Without a student visa, you cannot resume abroad. So ProconnectPAY also guides. Let me say this clearly. We do not help anyone apply for visa because we're not a visa consultancy or an immigration consultancy agency. We can guide you. We can give you templates. If you also heard what Leonard said earlier, that he cannot speak to visa processes yet because legally he has not been licensed. So if he gets the license, he can begin to speak to, visa processes legally. It's not like, in Nigeria, we get to do things anyhow and there's no legal consequence. In this part of the world, you cannot claim expertise in the field if you've not gotten the license to speak to that field. So we can guide you. We can support you. But you are solely responsible for your visa application. So if you decide to pay a third party to do it on your behalf, it's fine. But I can tell you for free that your visa application is something you can also do on your own. You'll be given the entire template, including a letter of support and an endorsement letter. So as part of the documentation you attach for your visa application. So you can run your visa processes on your own. But some persons are probably very busy and we understand that. So if you decide to work with a third party, that's completely fine. Now, we're all working towards, of course, September next year, September 2024 or June of 2024, depending on the program and, of course, the school you are going to. So let's even hope that between now and then, Leonard will have even gotten his license to enable him now provide that support as a company to individuals, of course, that get to that particular stage. But we'll get to that stage from next year. Nobody will probably get admission this year when we start the process. It will likely be next year that admission will begin to chop in. So once admission comes in, your financing has been secured. The next major thing, of course, will now be we now moving to the visa stage. So let me break down each of these layers: the loan processing layer, the admission processing layer, and the visa support layer. These are the core services that ProconnectPAY provides to all of the candidates we work with, of course, across Africa. So, the loan processing layer, what are the terms and conditions? How do we disburse the loan? How do you repay back our loan? I already gave you a little trick on repaying. But if you're not taking that trick, how do you repay back our loan? How do we track you to ensure you're paying back our loan? What makes you eligible to access our loan? And more importantly, how do we support you to ensure that when you are eligible, you will get approval for our loan? So please, I want to say this. Any questions we have, we can just wait till the end of my presentation to ask the question. I can tell you for free, we're going to answer all questions today across YouTube and of course the Zoom account here. So please, I'll just plead with you. Do not ask a question as I'm going on, because you might just ask questions that I've not gotten to yet. So let's just be patient. When I'm done with my presentation, we can then begin to ask specific questions that of course we did not get clarity on. So let's talk about the terms and of course the conditions. Let's talk about the loan processing layer. So I'm going to be sharing on that screen of mine for the benefit of everybody. And we're going to use an hypothetical example to explain, of course, the way the loan works. We're going to use an hypothetical example to explain the way the loan works. So let me go back to my screen. Let me share my screen again. Okay, yes. So yes, yeah. Okay. So now I'm sharing my screen here for the benefit of everybody. So in today's case, let me see. I'm going to use Amu Oluwatimilehin as my example. So let me use Folasi. Folasi has asked a lot of questions. So Folasi, I'm going to use you as my example today to, of course, explain. I think I'll use Folasi and Evangel. So Folasi, Evangel, you are going to be my sample case study for today. So let's say you are going for an MBA with a focus on finance. Let's also say you are going to University of New Brunswick. So let's use University of New Brunswick as our example for today. Now, please, these are hypothetical figures I'll be giving to you. It's not the real thing. So that you not say, but Elder, you said this. So these are just hypothetical figures, please. It's not the real thing. So your tuition for 2 years. Now we're going to focus on Canada. Just forget this US parts. We're going to focus on Canada here. So let's say your tuition for 2 years, hypothetically, is $24,000. Now, let's also say your cost of living for 2 years, hypothetically, is $10,000. Now, remember I said it before. If you decide to go to any other university we partner with in Canada, besides these three that we've mentioned repeatedly, you wouldn't get our cost of living loan. So it simply means that you will be responsible for your cost of living, and you would also need to show proof of funds for 7,000 to 10,000 Canadian dollars in your account when, of course, you get to your visa stage. But if every one of us here are applying to any of these three schools, then you get, of course, cost of living from ProconnectPAY. So your health insurance, $4,000, and of course, your reimbursable flight ticket, like I mentioned earlier, will now be $2,000. So in total, that would be about 40,000 US dollars. When you convert it to Canadian dollars, approximately, that comes to about 49,800 and something dollars. But we just, 54,900 and something dollars, but we've just approximated it to 55,000 Canadian dollars. In US dollars, we get to disburse your loan in US dollars. So just know that your loan is disbursed in US dollars. Your school is not the one that will convert it to Canadian dollars. There's a big difference between US dollars and Canadian dollars, two different currencies. Like I mentioned earlier, and I'm re-emphasizing again, the only schools in Canada where we provide cost of living loan is Northeastern University. They have a campus in Toronto, and they also have a campus in Vancouver. Ontario College of Management and Technology, they are based in Toronto. Then, of course, University of New Brunswick in New Brunswick. Like Leonard mentioned earlier, Ontario, where Northeastern is located, Ontario province, where Northeastern University is located, and where the OCMT College is located, is the biggest province, or probably the second biggest or the biggest in Canada. It is very big. I dare say it's even as big as Nigeria. Very big. You can travel for hours within the province. I tried it 2 weeks ago. Like travel for hours by road within the province. But if you go to any other university we support outside of these three, you'll be responsible for your cost of living, and you'll also be responsible for showing proof of funds for those other universities. But let's assume that hypothetically, everybody here today will be going to any one of these tertiary institutions we've listed here. So it simply means that your cost of living is covered. No problem. Now, the interest rates on our loan per annum is 12.99% per annum. Per annum. So remember what I said about the interest rate being a little high, because in Canada, if you're an American or a Canadian, you get to access loan at probably 5%, 4%, 3% per annum, 6% highest. But because we're giving you a non-collateral loan, we do not require a co-signor. So ours is a little higher. But the advantage you have is this: when you graduate and start earning a salary in your bank with your banker can refinance your loan by buying it off, and you begin to pay the lower interest rates. It's a smart financial investment in the long run. On the good, I should be telling you this because I'm like, oh, I want to make more money from you. But we're Africans. So we still have, of course, our African arts and mentality when even dealing with our fellow Africans. If you are going for a transfer BSc program, so it means that if you are an HND graduate going for a 2 years BSc, or you are currently an undergraduate in 200 level and above, going for a 2 years BSc in Canada, the interest rate per annum is 13.99%. 13.99%. Now, the best part to our loan is you can pay back our loan in 10 years. Post-graduation, you can pay back our loan in 10 years post-graduation. You can decide to pay back the loan in 5 years. Very possible. You only pay interest for the number of years you had our loan with you. Let's even say, hypothetically, your banker agrees to buy your loan immediately 1 year after you graduated. You would only pay interest worth of 1 year. But there's this funny question, a lot of Africans get to ask us: can I pay back the loan immediately I graduate, 6 months after I graduate? Can I just pay everything? Bro, sister, it will be nearly impossible. In this part of the world, it is difficult for you to have all those your side hustle that can just give you big money. It's totally impossible. Every money you earn in this economy is tracked by the tax authorities. So if you earn any money that doesn't look legit, trust me, you'll be seeing police and every other agency knocking on your doors. Unless you're fortunate, you launch a startup, you probably created an innovation you sold, or you probably launched out one very makes sense innovation that they pump money into. That's the only way you can have that kind of financial windfall. So to a large extent, we've made it possible for you to pay back the loan in 10 years. Because we know that if you earn your steady income monthly, you can pay it conveniently and still live a very comfortable life in Canada. You own a car, you can buy your house on mortgage, you can access health insurance, take care of your family, even support your village people back home. You will do that easily. But if you decide that, oh, I want to stress myself by paying back in 5 years, totally fine. You even go the smart way. Let my banker buy back my loan so I can pay lower interest rates, totally fine. All of those options are available to you once you land in Canada and you start earning. Now, as a student, you will be expected to service the interest on your loan. As a student, what is the major reason you do that? To build up your credit history. So let me break down what I mean. We get to disburse your certified loan. Certified simply means that your school has certified that this is how much you really need for your 2 years program. So that $44,000 we approved, if your school certifies it as what you need for 2 years, we will not divide this $44,000, sorry, this $40,000 into 6 different installments, which means that we disburse per quarter. Every 4 months, we disburse a portion. So if you divide $40,000 by 6, that will be how much per time? Let's see, guys. Someone can quickly help me there. Divided by 6. That would be $6,600. So let's say approximately $6,700. So see what happens here, guys. You see this $6,700 now that we're disbursing per time? You now times it by 12.99%. 12.99%. Then I divide it. You now divide it. Where is that by division? You now divide it by 100. So equal. So let's do that, guys. So 6,700 times 12.99% divided by 100. So I'll give you 870 USD. So this 870 USD is the per annum calculation. Remember, you now divide 870 USD divided by 12 months. So to give you equal divided by 12 months. So that would be 73 USD approximately. So this 73 USD is what you pay as your interest as a student. So let me give a practical example so you understand. So let's say you are resuming in September next year. We don't get to disburse your loan until you've resumed on campus, your school has validated your studentship, and your school certified the loan you need, and let us know. All that process from when you land in Canada can probably take about 2 or 3 weeks. So let's say you landed 1st of September, and by 20th of September, your school now certifies the loan. So we now disburse your loan maybe 23rd of September. This hypothetical. We will begin to count 45 days from 23rd of September that will disburse your loan. 45 days from 23rd of September that will disburse your loan. So once it's 45 days, boom, this $73 becomes due as the interest you pay to service your loan. Remember that we've given you your cost of living, so you're living quite all right. So some people, they won't use their cost of living loan to service their interest, so they don't stress themselves looking for a job immediately. But some persons, they don't mind looking for a job, they go and work. But realistically, you might find it tough getting a job in your first quarter in Canada because you're just landing there. So you're still trying to acclimatize and understand the system and understand the kind of jobs that are available for students. And remember that you are a full-time student. So a lot of employers might not employ you immediately if they think you still have to go to school and still come and work for them, because they might need somebody that works for them full-time. Unless you go to platforms like Indeed, where you get to see a lot of hourly jobs that you can do in warehouses or factories for places like Amazon or all those large factories that probably want to come and everything to package up their stuffs. A lot of students get to do those kind of small kind of jobs. So any small job you see can basically help you earn $73 to service the interest on your loan. By the next quarter, that is another 4 months, when we now disburse another $6,700, it means that the next quarter interest you'll now be paying monthly will now increase by 2. So it will go from $73 to about $140+. That's how that money will keep increasing till you graduate, only servicing the interest. The major reason you are doing that is to help you build up your credit history in Canada. Without a credit history, you'll find it extremely difficult renting a house, getting access to mortgage, getting access to even loan to buy a car, and getting that your health insurance might be more expensive. Your pension might be more expensive because you have no credit history anyone can look at. So the advantage for you is we help build up your credit history while studying. So that once you graduate, it is easy to assimilate into the economy, into society. Because trust me, the concessions you will enjoy as a student that just landed in Canada, you will not enjoy those concessions the very moment you graduate and you're now taking like a full-blown adult. Even if, of course, you're already adults. So, what are the key elements that determines your eligibility for our loan? What are the key elements that determines your eligibility for our loan. Number one, you have to be a graduate of a university or a polytechnic. You have to be a graduate of a university or a polytechnic. Of course, if you are currently an undergraduate in your 200 level and above, you are also eligible for our loan. For every one of you that are HND graduates, even if you have an MSc or an MBA already, you will need to do a WES valuation. Like I mentioned before, we do not know how to authenticate that that polytechnic you went to is legit. So the only way we'll do so is by the WES evaluation. And it's all Canadian schools who partner with require it. So let me say this. If you are a BSc graduate and you have a first class or a 2-1 or a very sharp 2-2 and you have good work experience and certificates to back it up, you can apply for our MSc or MBA pathway in any of the 2 universities, either Northeastern University or, like Leonard already mentioned, New Brunswick University. If you're a 2-1 graduate, first class graduate, sharp 2-2 with quality work experience and certificates to back up. Now, in schools like Northeastern, you don't even need certificates. If you have good work experience and you have a 2-2 that is 3.0 and above, you automatically can compete for a master's. So long as you have good work experience to back up the course you want to study. If you are here and you have a 3rd class, a very low 2-2, like 3.0 and below 2-2, the only pathway you're eligible for in ProconnectPAY is our PGD to master's pathway. Our PGD to master's pathway. If you're an HND graduate, there are 2 categories of HND graduates. There are HND graduates that already have like an MBA or an MSc. Graduates like that can also compete directly for a master's, but you will still need to do WES valuation. But if you're an HND graduate without a master's, without an MBA, you probably just graduated 5 years, 7, 8, 10 years ago, the only option available for you is to do a transfer BSc of 2 years. So it means you'll do 300 level and 400 level in the course consistent with your HND, but you will need to also do WES valuation. If you are currently an undergraduate studying in an African university, you can also transfer from your 200 level, your 300 level, even in 400 level, you can transfer to Canada and do a 2 years, 300 level and 400 level program in the same course you're studying back home in Africa. So I've given different layers to people that are eligible for our programs. First class 2-1, sharp 2-2, 3.0 and above, you are eligible for our MBA, MSc pathway. Low 2-2, even people with a 2-2, generally 3.0, in case you cannot compete for admission to a university, you can also take our PGD to master's pathway. 3rd class 2-2, low 2-2 can take our PGD to master's pathway. First class 2-1, sharp 2-2 can take our MSc MBA pathway. HND graduates with an MBA or an MSc, you will need to do WES valuation. You can also compete directly for an MBA or MSc pathway. HND graduates without an MSc or MBA, you've recently graduated, you've graduated for long, you will need to do WES valuation and you're only eligible for our transfer BSc pathway. Current university undergraduates in an African university, you are also eligible for our 2 years BSc pathway, but you need to be in 200 level minimum and above. The second key element that determines your eligibility for our loan is you must be willing to study a commercially viable course. You must be willing to study a commercially viable course. You must be willing to study a commercially viable course in sciences, in technology, in engineering, in mathematics, in health, and in business. It does not matter what you studied in your first degree. It does not even matter what you do currently. If you work as a teacher I can tell you that there are edutech courses you can do. You can do an MBA with a focus on business and educational management. There are options for you. But you must be willing to study a commercially viable course. How do you know a commercially viable course you study? Everybody coming into the ProconnectPAY ecosystem, the first value you get is meeting with an academic counselor. That academic counselor you meet with is the one that will get to counsel and advise you on the course to go for based on your work experience. Based on your work experience. Your work experience could be you volunteering, could be an internship, can be a full-time job, can be a part-time job, can be your business, can be your self-employed thingy. But we only fund you to study courses that is consistent with your first degree or your work experience. That consistency is important for us because the life you lived in Nigeria or Ghana or Kenya or Uganda, you don't suddenly disappear that life. That experience you gathered will be important in your ability to compete for jobs post-graduation when you're not backing it up with your degree. Of course, if you have a bad credit history, we wouldn't fund you. If you have a bad credit history, we will not fund you. What it simply means is you've taken a loan from a bank and you refuse to pay back the loan. We will not fund you. But if you have a loan you're currently servicing, it does not matter to us. You can qualify for our loan. If you've had a bad credit history in the past and you've cleared it off, you have your letter of non-indebtedness, my advice is go and borrow more money so that your credit history will be updated with the fact that you've collected more money and you are paying back now. Some of you, when you have a bad credit history, you stop collecting a loan when you've cleared it. If we do a credit check on you, that's the last thing we'll see. And when we see that, we will not give you our loan. But if we see that you've collected a loan after you've cleared your bad credit history and you are paying back on time and your credit history is being updated, you will still be eligible for our financing. Lastly, like I mentioned before, you must be willing to attend a ProconnectPAY approved university. I already told you the 3 key schools we support, but we support 35 schools in Canada. But these 3 schools we are focusing on today are the ones that allow you to assess our cost of living loan. They allow you to assess our cost of living loan. It eases your burden when, of course, you get to Canada, that you have as cost of living attached to your loan. It makes your life easy. And the kind of schools we support are the schools that usually have a robust career advancement center to support your ability to get jobs. They organize job fairs, career fairs. They teach you how to package your resume, your LinkedIn profile for global employers. Because right now, how you package your profile in Nigeria is when you package it for education. And it's completely when you package it when you're competing for jobs. Most large-scale employers in the US and Canada, they use software to move a CV forward or move a CV backward. So these your universities will teach you Canadian standard, how you prepare your resume, how you highlight your skills and your expertise to ensure that when it's passing through their software, your profile can also be shortlisted. Now I'm going to speak to our PGD to Master's pathway. I'm going to emphasize a little on it for the benefit of people that are third class holders or extremely very low 2-2 holders. Now let me say this. HND graduates do not qualify for funding for a PGD to Master's pathway. So let me say that clearly. If you're an HND graduate, this PGD to Master's pathway is none of your business. This pathway is strictly for BSc graduates that have a third class or have a very low 2-2 or generally have a 2-2 and don't probably to take stress of going to go and compete for university admission. They rather just take this pathway. The college we partner with in Canada that offers this pathway is Ontario College of Management and Technology. They're in Toronto. Now, let me say this. It is a private college. So it simply means that they do not offer postgraduate work permits. What they offer is a pathway to permanent residency. And I will explain to you what that means. Private colleges in Canada, by law, cannot give you what they call postgraduate work permits. But by law, these universities can admit you. You can get a visa with them, take your education, apply for PR, get your PR, and then you chill. Now, I will not say this to discountenance the importance of postgraduate work permits. Postgraduate work permit is very good. It makes absolute sense. You know why? Because it's a guaranteed buffer that in case I don't get PR immediately, at least I have postgraduate work permits for 3 years to get Canadian experience and use that as my opportunity to get PR. So it's extremely very important. But you know the craziest part? It does not guarantee you a job when it finishes or ends. So it means you can do postgraduate work permit, work without needing PR in Canada. And when you're done, your employer will like, sorry guys, we don't help people process PR. We got you because it was easier to get you without that legal work or paperwork or spending extra money. Some companies in the US and Canada, they don't like taking that burden at all. So if you get employed by an employer under your postgraduate work permits and they do not have the wherewithal to apply for PR for you, you end up seeing yourself in the same pot, applying for PR just like every other person. The only difference now is, of course, you are in Canada already. You've acquired Canadian education, so you have an advantage. So it's a buffer given to you that if I spend my money to come and study here, I have the opportunity to earn within the economy, to gain valuable experience. But the bigger picture is not just to get postgraduate work permits. The bigger picture, the most important picture, is to get PR. And for anyone that lives in Canada, they will tell you that PR is the only way your countdown to citizenship starts. So you study for 2 years, you got PR for 3 years, 5 years. All that time, you are still not taken as someone that is eligible for citizenship until you've gotten PR. So you can do 5 years in Canada. You are not even close to being a citizen until you've gotten PR. When you get in PR, you don't have to be in Canada for 3 full years. Of course, it doesn't have to be simultaneously. You can come, go, if whatever you do is outside of Canada, that brings you money. We have a lot of Africans that do that. But you will now need 3 years from the day you're giving your PR to begin to count down citizenship. On average, that is the way it is for the bulk of people on average. It's only if your case is special, it might exceed that. So at the end of the day, a lot of my friends I know that, I've studied in the last 1 year, last 2 years, what they simply do is the moment they land in Canada, you land in Canada today, they start processing PR instantly. Of course, you're not going to be approved instantly. What it simply means is you just put your application up there because you're in Canada. So as you get your MBA, put it there. As you get your certification in your field, you put it there. As you probably write IELTS, you put it there. As you get co-op experience in Canada, you put it there. As you probably get a letter of recommendation from your employer, you put it there. All of those things increases your points within the system. So because you're already in Canada, you tend to have higher advantage than someone applying for PR from Nigeria or Ghana or Kenya or Uganda. All of you are doing the same thing, express entry. But the advantage is that you are already within the ecosystem. So to a large extent, if you tick all of those boxes, you get Canadian citizen, you get PR instantly upon graduation, or a few months after graduation. And I'm not saying this now based on Bobo. I'm saying this now based on what I've seen realistically play out. So for those of you going for the PGD to master's pathway, what we've simply done is we've simply created a pathway that accommodates you, that drives inclusion. You have a third class, you have a very low tutu. Trust me, it will be extremely difficult or impossible to get direct admission to a university in Canada. So this PGD pathway allows you to earn a PGD, allows you to earn an MBA. The MBA is offered by a university in Italy. Everything will be done remotely, including your PGD program. You attend classes twice a week. The bulk of the lectures online. The MBA program will be fully delivered online. So you graduate with a Canadian diploma, an Italian MBA. If you are going for a cybersecurity course, I would encourage everybody going to this college, go and take the highest certification in cybersecurity in the US and Canada. Write the exam, become a professional and certified professional. You're an accountant, you've worked in finance, go and take the CPA exam. Anything you will study in that diploma program, you have to ensure that you get the certification, American Canadian standard certification that certifies you, that licenses you to practice. All of those things add up to the point you get. Of course, we don't need to write IELTS to also back up your point. Lastly, we won't at the college also offers what they call co-op. So for 3 to 6 months, you can work. The most of the co-op you will get, they might not pay you. It's not like internship, but it's going to be in the field consistent with the course you're studying in your postgraduate diploma. So when you get that 3 to 6 months experience, that's also you ticking the box of Canadian experience. If you are very good at your job, your employer can even give you a letter of commendation. You attach that to your application for PR. So as you are graduating out of the college, because you're not eligible for postgraduate work permit, you see that you stand a better chance of getting PR with all of these steps that are taken. And trust me, in ProconnectPAY, we don't fund you and now leave you. The very moment you take our financing, I become like your father and your mom. We'll get to monitor you. We'll get to see you in school. We'll come to your school, get feedback from your school about your performance, just to ensure that our investment is not going to waste. And of course, as a way to also keep track of your progress. Because for your ability to pay back our money is dependent on you're being meritorious academically, professionally, in everything you'll be doing while studying in Canada. So your success to us is extremely important. So for the next 10 years of your life, or 12 years of your life, or 8 years of your life, depending on how you know you are alone, you'll practically be seeing us in front of your face, always. Now, to be eligible for our PGD to Master's pathway, there are 2 key requirements. You have to satisfy either one of the 2. Number 1, your first degree must be in a business or IT-oriented course. Your first degree must be in a business or IT-oriented course. But if your first degree is in maybe agriculture, education, but somehow you find yourself working in business field or the IT field, those are the 2 key things that makes you qualified and eligible for our PGD to Masters, in bracket MBA pathway. If you check out the WhatsApp group where some of us belong to, you will notice that we even listed the kind of courses you are eligible for that will support for that particular college. So I'm going to share the courses we support across all the universities and of course this college we work with. So I'm going to share that now shortly for your benefits. So sorry guys, just give me 1 minute. Let me look for it here. Okay, so I've seen what I'm looking for. Okay, so I'm coming. Okay. So sorry, let me just make it smaller. Okay. So before I go to Northeastern University, let's go to the Ontario College. So this is the Ontario College here. So we can see the program they offer for their PGD to MBA pathway. Everything will take you 2 years to complete. Some of them 1 year, 6 months, but the minimum amount of period you need is 1 year, 6 months. So you can see the courses that are offered in the PGD to Master's pathway. The Cybersecurity, Intelligence, Engineering PGD with your MBA, Digital Innovation, Transformation and Cloud Technology, Enterprise Resource Planning Systems, Brand Promotion and Digital Marketing Technology, Applied Artificial Intelligence and Data Analytics, Accounting and Business Finance, Cybercrime Investigation and Intelligence Technology, cloud computing technician, or what you call cloud computing technology. Each of these PGD, you get to do an MBA. Everybody does an MBA. MBA fully offered online in partnership with a university in Italy. So you get like an Italian MBA alongside your diploma from Canada. And like I mentioned before, if you notice each of these courses you are doing, they all have professional certificates or fields. So you have to write the exams for each of these fields, depending on the course you are going for. And whatever course you would study, your work experience must tally with any one of these courses. If your work experience does not tally, you are not eligible for this pathway. We are very particular about work experience, very particular about it. Your work experience must tally with this. Now, if you are going to Northeastern University, yeah, like I mentioned before, there are 2 campuses for Northeastern University. 2 campuses for Northeastern University. There's the Vancouver campus and there's the Toronto campus. So let's talk about the Toronto campus. In the Toronto campus, they offer only MSc programs, no MBA. So they do an MSc in project management, an MSc in analytics, an MSc in informatics, an MSc in information systems, an MSc in cyber physical systems, an MSc in biotechnology, and an MSc in bioinformatics. This university in Toronto is located in downtown Toronto, very busy, makes sense place. You will love working around that environment. A lot of global businesses have their operations there. And the building where they utilize in Toronto, there are a lot of global organizations too in that particular building. For the Vancouver campus, they offer an MSc in information system, an MSc in computer science, an MSc in data analytics engineering. This one, you don't need to have a background in engineering to qualify for this program. They have an MSc in analytics, they have an MSc in information design and data visualization, and they also have an aligned MSc computer science and MSc computer science program for people that do not have a first degree in computer science. Of course, if you're going to take this kind of program, you need to have done some form of trainings, certification, something to show that you are really already building at least your work history or your skills around that field. Now, if you are going to University of New Brunswick, you're going to University of New Brunswick, they have science, technology, MSc pathways. So you can do an MSc in biology. Sorry, guys. You can do an MSc in biology, an MSc in computer science, an MSc in chemistry, an MSc in mathematics and statistics, an MSc in nursing. They also have a nursing accelerated pathway for those of you that have a bachelor's degree in a science program. You can do that accelerated bachelor's in nursing program. And they also have an MSc in technology management and entrepreneurship. They also have an MSc in quantitative investment management. This last program are mostly for people that graduated with economics, and EcoStat, all of those courses, economic and statistics, mathematics. For their business program, like we're aware, they offer an MBA, and they offer that MBA in 2 campuses. One of the campuses offers it for 1 year, the other one offers it for 2 years. So it's totally dependent on you and, of course, where you want to go to. Then they also offer engineering-oriented programs. For those of you, of course, that are in the engineering field, they offer engineering-oriented programs for the benefit of those that, of course, want to do an engineering program. Now, like I mentioned before, we have 32 other schools we support in Canada. These 3 schools I've outlined are the ones that accept cost of living. So that's the major reason there's a little emphasis on them today, because it's easier for you when, of course, you have cost of living. It will be a lot of work for you when you don't have cost of living. So if you're going to study any one of these courses I've outlined here, your work experience has to tally with it. Your work experience has to tally and align with it. Very, very key. That's the only way you are guaranteed going to get our financing, when of course satisfy other requirements. So like I mentioned before, what can one study? Some of you have a clearly defined career path. So you don't need to hustle or think too much about what to study. We get to validate your conviction. But some of you might have what I call like a scattered career. So we will advise you on what we think you can actually study. But alignment of what you're going to study, and of course your work experience, is very, very important for us. Extremely very important. So let's now move to the next stage, which of course is the admission processing stage. I already shared with you the courses to support. I've also shared with you the schools, of course, support is focused on. Now, how do we help you in getting admission? So one of the key things we do in ProconnectPAY is we're experts in designing and drafting resumes, statement of purpose that aligns with your work experience based on your personal context, your personal history. Then, of course, we ensure that your LinkedIn profile is in tandem with your resume and what your statement of purpose says. Then we will not be responsible for submitting your school application on your behalf. Depending on the school you've decided you are going to, we will be responsible for submitting the application on your behalf. Now, I can tell you this, as much as we have direct relationships with this school, we also do not influence admission. Abroad here, trying to peddle influence is a crime that can get you to jail for up to 10 years. So we don't peddle influence. We don't try to influence anybody. What we simply do is, all of this talk about having is to ensure that when we're working on your application, we're putting forth our best foot on your behalf so that you stand a good chance of getting admission. So let me be very clear about that. We're not here to sell admission. We're not peddling admission. We're not also influencing who can get admission. Our job is to ensure that whatever we do for you on your application, your statement of purpose, your resume, your LinkedIn profile, we put in our best foot and best efforts on your behalf per global standard. So let me be very clear about that, so that nobody will say that, oh, it looks like these guys are peddling influence or selling admission. We do not do that at all. So I'm saying about the benefit of the recording and of course of future reference. Now, once you've secured your admission and you've gotten your loan, the next most important step is now your student visa. Without a student visa, you obviously cannot resume in Canada. Like I mentioned before, we do not support anybody. Like, we do not help anybody write their statement of purpose or submit the application. We do not do that too. It's also illegal because we're not licensed by law to do so. But can we guide you? Can we support you in your processing? Yes, we can. In fact, do we even have a tech tool you can utilize, like an AI tool you can utilize that helps in your visa application processes? Yes, we do. Leonard also mentioned the fact that he's also working towards getting his license that allows him to also offer that as an extra service legally. So there are so many options you can leverage upon. We have an AI partner in Canada too that does visa processes. All you need to do is just input your basic details, and the AI tool will populate all your application details for you. So all you simply do is just to verify, download, and you upload it into the IRC portal. Very easy and straightforward. Everybody and anybody that, of course, is a part of the ProconnectPAY community has access to that portal free of charge. We offer it free of charge to members of our community when they get to their visa stage. It just aids your work in making it easy. It's not submitting your visa application for you. It simply just helps you to gather all of your documentation. You still need to download it from the portal and not take it to IRC portal to upload. But it's just part of the benefit and value we give to people when they get to their visa stage, where it reduces your paperwork. Because that system has been automated in a way that it gives out everything you need per Canadian standard. So we get to add it to our closed WhatsApp group. We get to guide you every week. We have mentoring sessions with you to review your application. We invite people already in Canada to come and speak to you too. Then, of course, we give you our letter of endorsement and our letter of support. There are two things. There's a letter of support that clearly states how much we're funding you with. It's more like what you call your proof of funds. But in this case, our letter. They also give what we call our letter of endorsement that endorses you as high potential. So your statement of purpose you'll be drafting. There has to be an alignment between what you draft and the endorsement letter will give to you that says you are high potential. So it's your job to communicate that high potentialness in your SOP. Will you be given a template on how to do that? Yes, we have templates for that also. So eventually, you get your visa, you now get to resume in Canada. Like I said, any costs associated with this process, paying your application fee, and doing everything totally on you. It's only when, of course, you've now gotten to Canada, then our loan kicks into effect. And let me say this, that college you are going to in Canada, for those of you that have your third class that are going to that particular college, they get to require that you pay a tuition deposit of 650,000 in Nigerian naira. 650K. They have an application fee of 230,000. But I can tell you that that college will likely admit you. It's a private college, so they are hustling customers. Now, where I cannot say whether they will admit you or not is University of New Brunswick and Northeastern University, because those guys are extreme, like they're very competitive, very competitive, very competitive. The specific amount in naira for the application fee, I'll get to share that later. But I think Leonardo is $125. So you can either pay it through ProconnectPAY, we pay it easily for you with our credit card, or you probably look for somebody in Canada that you already know that can make the payment on your behalf. When you get to your visa stage, all the fees associated with your visa fee, medicals, police reports, all of those costs are also on you. Our loan only comes into effect when you've gotten to Canada, inside Canada, resumed, validated your student status. So your end game, like I mentioned before, is to secure your student visa and your permanent residency. Either you take postgraduate work permits or you earn permanent residency, and of course you become a Canadian citizen where you enjoy the limitless opportunities it offers. You have spoken about that in the first phase of our meeting today. So the big question now is, okay, next steps. Next steps. Everybody that wants to access this service needs to become a member of the ProconnectPAY Global Education Community. Everybody, no matter who you are, everybody needs to become a member of our ProconnectPAY Global Education Community. The first value you get, like I mentioned earlier, is a one-on-one session with an academic counselor. More like what Leonard already mentioned, we get to get your certificates, your transcripts, so we can now quickly send it to the school. Will these guys be given admission based on the profile they have? Of course, this is not for everybody. If you have a 2-1, a 2-2, you have work experience, no lele, we don't have to start asking questions. It's only for selected cases. You have a very low 2-2, you have a third class, but you have like a master's, you have an HND, you have a master's, and you want to apply for an MBA. Only a few cases, but generally, we don't need to ask schools because we already know who can have admission and who don't have admission. Now, because we're doing this as a collective, we're going to be launching out this process fully from today. But as a collective, we're going to launch out this process as a collective from 15th of December. So what it means is that we're going to be submitting everybody's application almost at the same time. Because the goal is for every one of us to resume next year, September, latest. Any school that has admission timeline for June, you can apply for June. But the bulk of admissions is again September. And see, Canada is not like the US. The earlier, the better. The earlier, the better. So once, of course, you get assigned an accountability team, I haven't spoken to an academic counselor. We now assign you what we call a virtual assistant or a global education manager. Not somebody directly. You'll be added to a WhatsApp group that every Tuesday, every Thursdays, you can talk to that person as your virtual assistant and manager to ask them questions on the update of your application process. Okay, what has been done? Has my SOP been drafted? Has my resume been drafted? So Tuesday, Thursdays in the evenings, I think 6:30 p.m. Nigerian time. We get to do this every Tuesday and Thursdays just to enable you get updates on your application. You don't have to join the sessions every time. You can just join once a week, once in a month, just to get an update on your application and you move. If they need anything extra from you, they always call you or chat you up to ask for those extra things. So we get to draft your statement of purpose. We get to refine your resume. We get to optimize your LinkedIn profile. Then, of course, we submit your school application. Normally, we submit 2 school applications per candidate. But in this case, because the schools are limited, so you might likely see you're just submitting 1 school application on your behalf. So once you've gotten your admission, we'll now move to your loan stage. We apply for your loan. You get your approval, we now move to the visa stage. Like I said, we back you up with our letter of support and our endorsement letter. It has proven to work for all of the candidates who worked with in the past, and to work for you too. Like I mentioned before, you are responsible for applying for your visa on your own. But of course, you'll be guided, fully guided. You end your visa and you resume in Canada at the appropriate time. So just to break down all of those plenty things I've said, what is the key thing you are getting? We support you to get your admission. We support you to get approval for your loan. We support you in getting your student visa. And of course, you eventually get to resume on campus. That's just the key layer of all of these things we've said since. So the total cost for this particular service is 300K in Nigerian Naira, or $450. Anyone that wants to be part of this cohort of candidates we're working with, you have to make your first payment of 64% of 300K, or $450. That in Nigerian Naira could probably come to about 192K. In dollars, can you help me with the calculation? 64% of $450. Then on or before December 26th of this year, you balance out the remaining. Now, if you decide that you want to pay the money in bulk at once, that's it, guys. I don't want to pay in bits and pieces. Let me just pay in bulk at once. We get to give you 10% discount outrightly. So you get to pay either $270K or $405. Now, let me say this. This is something that ProconnectPAY has never done before, but I'm also going to say this now. If you pay the 64% upfront, and we have a one-on-one session with you, and we discover that you are not eligible for any of the courses we are supporting, and you are not willing to go to the other schools we support that offers that where our cost of living loan does not apply, we'll get to refund your money. But of course, we're going to deduct 35K for the initial conversation we had with you. That's still our time. So it's a commitment we're making. We've never done this before, but we're doing this for the benefit of this specific product. That if after talking to you in the one-on-one session, you are not eligible and you are not willing to go to the other schools we partner with where our loans for cost of living is not applicable, we get to refund your money to you, but we'll deduct 35K for that initial time we've spoken to you. In ProconnectPAY, we have a strict policy. We don't do any form of refund. But because this is a special category and a special product, we're willing to stick to the policy, or willing to tweak our policy to accommodate refunds. So once you pay, you get assigned an academic counselor. I'm also going to be part of the academic counseling team. So we'll talk to you, we understand your history, we recommend the schools to you that we know your profile and your history, work-wise fits. And when you stand a good chance of getting admission, if your case is a little special, we'll meet Leonard. I'll see you, Leonard. See you. What if the person wants to come to UNBO? What can you do for them? Can we check with the school? So if Leonard tells us that this person is not going to be eligible based on the school feedback, we'll refund your money to you. But if you are willing to go to other schools that we consider admitting you, but without cost of living loan, you only get tuition from us, flight ticket reimbursement, and your health insurance. You are the one that will cover your cost of living. Of course, we provide that cost of living service in Nigeria and in Ghana, in partnership with our bank partners. You also have the option of even using Simply Financial. But that's it. Anybody using Simply Financial simply means that you have the money. Because that 20,000 Canadian dollars you are going to pay into that account in Canada, they're not going to give you the money back. It's not proof of funds for sure. That is your actual cost of living money you are putting there. So when you get to Canada, they will not give the money in bulk. That money will be disbursed to you in bits and pieces throughout the duration of your program. So it's more like you are just paying your cost of living money upfront to a bank to hold for you. So let's be clear about that. It's not cost of living, it's not proof of funds they can get back. You will never get that money back in bulk. It will be disbursed in bits and pieces. When you land in Canada, they will first give you 3 months upfront worth of money that can enable you to rent your house, pay your bills, settle down. But after that first bulk 3 months money be given to you, from the 4th month, they will give it to you bits and pieces based on what you realistically need monthly to survive as a student. Of course, it's your money. So they give you your money in full. They will divide it equally for the duration of your remaining 18 months, yeah? Or 19 months. Or 21 months, sorry, because it's a 2 years program. So questions and answers. Thank you very much, guys. So I'm going to go to the comments now to take questions and answers. So please, if you have a question, please, you can throw all of your questions into the comment. If you asked a question before, earlier, before I started talking, please throw all your questions back into the comment. Nobody will speak openly. Everybody, I will attend to all of your questions in the open comments. And please, don't ask me a question directly, like sending it to me directly. Try to ask your questions openly so that everybody can learn from the questions that you're asking. So please, if you have questions, just throw them into the open comment, all questions, and I'll be very happy to attend to all of your questions. So please just give me 1 minute, guys. Let me drink water quickly. I'm very thirsty. My mouth is dry. Okay, so I'm aware it's to 8 Nigerian time. This meeting is going to be wrapping up by 9 o'clock, by 9 p.m. Nigerian time. So it means we have 1 hour plus to answer all questions. Of course, if we attend all of the questions before we're done, then we can call it a day. But we have 1 hour plus to attend to all questions that are asked. So please, you can ask your questions on YouTube. You can also ask your questions here on Zoom. So I'll be taking up questions now. Okay, yeah. So I think I know where I will start where I start. I start from 11:34 because that was obviously where we paused to now move to the second phase. So Bayonle, and you go through ProconnectPAY. If you have been denied a student visa before, yes, you can. But of course, you will need to be, like Leonard mentioned before, you will need to be truthful about why you were denied the student visa. It's very important. You need to be truthful about why you were denied the student visa. If you were just denied the student visa, the normal way everybody gets denied, insufficient funds, no home ties, is fine. But this was because you probably did something illegal or you probably falsified information. You need to let us know upfront so that we know what we're dealing with from the very beginning. Because if you don't, and you still get denied later in future, that wouldn't be our fault. That will obviously be your fault. So iPhone 11, what you studied in your first degree does not matter to us per se. What matters to us is your work experience. How many years work experience do you have? What have you done? Now, what do you want to study specifically in your graduate program? Like I mentioned earlier, you need to speak to an academic counselor in ProconnectPAY, and that process is not free. You have to make that initial commitment of 64%. Now, if we speak to you and we see that you're not eligible, like I mentioned before, we'll just get to deduct 35K of our service fee and we'll refund your balance to you. So you want to know what you will study specifically. I can't tell you that openly. That's a one-on-one session you need to have with an academic counselor in ProconnectPAY. This is more like a generic session. So I'm trying to answer generic questions for the benefit of everybody. What if you have a child and you're only taking your spouse? What did you have a child? So, John, we're saying the same English. except yourself and your spouse want to study abroad. Except yourself and your spouse want to study abroad. If yourself and your spouse are not studying abroad, why are you taking your spouse with you? Your spouse will not be able to work. Your spouse will not be able to go to school. So what exactly will your spouse be doing in Canada? Think about it now. So if you submit your visa application with your spouse that has no clearly defined purpose on why he or she is coming to Canada, you are simply altering your chances of getting a visa. Because even if, like Leonard mentioned before, that these Canadian guys, they know to a large extent, the bulk of us who are not coming back home, they know. But bro, your job is to still convince them that you have something you're coming back to in Nigeria. Even if every one of us, we know we're not coming back. But your job legally is to convince them that you have home ties that can still bring you back home. And your wife happens to be your home tie. So even if yourself and your wife decide to take on this process, John, the both of you, your process will be done independently. We're not going to apply for your admission or your visa as couple. No, you'll be John. Your wife will be your wife, Johness. Totally independent process. Two separate individuals. A lot of people have similar surnames. So it should just be taken as two independent applications, not as, oh, my spouse, my husband. So, Denise, I do not know, most schools will tell you to pay $200 to secure your spots. That's what I know about tuition deposits. Most schools will require that you pay $200. So just put your mind, some schools, they have clearly defined tuition deposit requirements. Some other schools don't. But minimum, they would say pay $200 as tuition deposit. So let me ask Leonard before I move on. Leonard, please, quick one. Does UNB require any form of tuition deposits from candidates? And if yes, how much do they require that candidates would pay?
Okay, good question. So tuition deposit, once you've been issued the letter of acceptance, you are expected to pay $1,000 to accept that admission. And that $1,000 covers you for 2 years. So if you are giving admission, for example, Elder, for 2024 September start, and you pay the $1,000 deposit, and you decide for family reasons not to come again in 2024, you want to come in 2025 September, you don't need to do anything else. That $1,000 already secures your seat in class for 2 years, basically. All they will now need to do is to issue you another letter with a September 2025 start date, which you would use to support your visa application. Okay. And then the balance tuition you guys would fund through your loan program.
Okay, so let me just ask, let me jump an extra question on behalf of others that might probably want to ask, but maybe they are not asking yet. If one now decides that, okay, I applied for my visa, I didn't get my visa, does the school get to reimburse tuition deposit that was paid?
It's on a case-by-case basis. And I say that because, so if it's because of visa refusal, it's the MBA director that would decide. But most times, Elder, I would say the answer is no.
Okay. Okay.
But so that's just for the tuition deposits. Any other part of the tuition that is paid, and if your visa is refused, for example, for somebody who decides not to take the loan, they will refund you. They will refund you that portion of the tuition.
Okay. So I guess that answers your question, Denise. The college will also partner with where you get to pay $650K in Nigerian naira for your tuition deposits. They also do not reimburse tuition deposits. But like you also mentioned, so this college also extends your resumption timeline if you are denied a visa. That's something that nobody controls. So just putting that out there for the benefit of every other person. Then okay, so for Northeastern University, Okpeyemi, can you verify if Fola paid the tuition deposits?
Yes, he did.
How much tuition deposit did he pay?
Close to 500 card.
Okay, close to 500 card. So if you're going to Northeastern University too, you also pay a tuition deposit of about 500 Canadian dollars. So the specific figure, we might not get that figure right, but just know that there's also a tuition deposit requirement. So see, most Canadian schools would always require a tuition deposit. It's just what makes them quite unique from US schools. They mostly require tuition deposit. And you wouldn't blame them. The demand for Canadian schools is extremely high. Like when I mean high, like extremely high. People from over 100 countries across the world apply to Canadian schools every day. Canadian schools are not so much. The way you have it. In US, you have more than 7,000 universities. In Canada, it's not up to that. So the feel that they are heavily in high demand. So when they say secure your spot, it's simply like show some form of commitment so that we can secure a spot for you. If not, you might end up coming and they will tell you there's no space, that waits till the next semester. And you're already in Canada, you cannot do anything, you cannot go back, you cannot work, you cannot do anything because you don't have any status yet, except the fact that you're a student, but yet you're not activated as a student in the next semester. We see that happen a lot with colleges, all those plenty colleges in Canada. They over-admit students. When people come to Canada finally, they are now stranded because they tell you that, oh, we're already filled to capacity, wait till the next semester. What do you expect that person to do that has left his country, left everything to come and resume in your school or your college? So when schools say lock your space, it's mostly to avoid cases like this. So if you are going for proof of funds, let's say you are not getting a cost of living loan, let's say you are going to other schools in Canada that our cost of living loan does not apply to. The rate is usually between 3 to 5% monthly. And of course, you can either get the money in your account at once, bulk sum, or you can build the account monthly, but between 3 to 5% monthly. So it depends on the amount you need, and of course the bank account where you are setting up the proof of funds. That's what determines, like how much you get to pay, but between 3 to 5% monthly. So, Chukwuemeka, you've asked a very good question. Now, can you do that PGD? Like I mentioned before, you need to take that first step in becoming a part of our global education community. When we have that one-on-one with you, we can then advise you on what you're eligible for in terms of what you can study. But yeah, based on your background, we don't need to talk too much now. You already know you're qualified. So if you're not eligible, I will tell you openly, up and down, that you're not eligible. So Balogun, if you study biochemistry and you're an HND graduate, you are eligible for a transfer BSc pathway. You need to do West valuation, then apply for a 2 years BSc. So you do 300 level and 400 level in Canada. Now, what school can you go to specifically? What course? You need to be a part of the network. You need to be a part of the network, the community. So take that first step, be a part of the community. You meet an academic counselor. We advise you, of course, on the school to apply for and, of course, the school to go to. The application fee for OCMT is now 230K, while the tuition deposit is 650,000. So, Julius, I really do not understand that question you asked. Are we paying for the funding to come from ProconnectPAY? I don't know what you mean by that question. So, like, I really do not understand the question. But if you're asking that, where's the funding coming from? The funding, ProconnectPAY has bank partners we work with in the US. So, your money, this loan is not coming from Nigeria. It's not in Nigeria. The money is domiciled in the US. So, that's where we get to disburse to your school. Bro, if I disbursing from Nigeria, like, do you see the way your exchange rate keeps increasing on a daily basis every day? That would be crazy, man. Like, even your banks can't do this, can never, ever do this. Sorry, I'm whining our banks. Yes, John, the cost of living is disbursed to the school. So the school gets to disburse your money in bits. Like I said, we disburse the money in 6 installments. We don't disburse the money all at once. That would be tough for you to service as a student. So the money is disbursed in bits and pieces. Once every 4 months, we disburse a portion of your loan to your school. Oh, Adenike, that's a very good question. If you've gotten partial scholarship, partial funding, you have your personal savings, why not? You don't need to take the full money from us. You only take what you need, only what you need, only what you need. In fact, we've seen candidates that when they resume on campus, they get scholarships. So they no longer need us in their second year. Totally possible, Nike, totally possible. The better for you. We'll be very happy for you, honestly. We'll be very happy for you if you're able to reduce your loan liability. So, John, in Ga, if you have a pass in your HND, like I mentioned before, you need to do West valuation. But beyond that, do you stand a chance of getting admission? My guy, you need to be a part of the network. When you're a part of the network, we'll not, after speaking to you and understanding your career, we need to understand what you've been doing since you graduated. We will not take your pali and pass it on to our school partner. See this person, will they stand a chance if we put in an application for them? They'll say yes, they can put in the application. I can tell you for free that getting BSc admission is very easy, very easy. They will dash you that one self, sharp. Postgraduate admission is usually the one that is very competitive. But I can tell you, John, Inga, take that first step, make that 64% payment to ProconnectPAY, so you have access to an academic counselor. Like I mentioned before, we're making an open commitment. If one is not eligible, we'll get to refund your money back to you, just minus 35K for the one-on-one session you had with an academic counselor. Adenike, does credit score? We don't work with credit score, we work with your credit history. So if I don't know who you are calling online loan sharks. If you are taking a loan from OPay, Carbon, all those plenty loan apps that you have in Nigeria, I don't know whether they call them loan sharks. So I don't know what you mean by loan sharks. I know that these are the popular guys that people take loan from. So you're taking loan from any other place. I don't know about that. And I can tell you for free that those guys, people you might call loan sharks, they hardly ever report your credit history on credit bureau portal. They hardly ever do that because that's what they're called loan sharks. They charge high exorbitant rates. They do illegal things to get their money back, threatening you, put your information online. They do all sorts that can never be allowed within a regulated financial institution ecosystem. But that's not to give you an idea of, okay, if Eda is saying it like this, then I don't need to pay that loan again, that money now, because I just chop and come out. No. You might be shocked or surprised that they have third-party access to the portal, even if not directly. So you don't have to take a loan and not pay back. It's a function of attitude, character. If you do that for a loan shark, it means you will do that for us too now. Because you can also go to a court tomorrow and say, no, I don't want to take this loan anymore. That I don't want to pay it back. That I'm traumatized as an African. So please, if you take a loan anywhere, even if it's a loan shark, pay back the loan. It's just a character thingy. Stephen, I honestly do not know where we get the money from. Is your business. We are telling you the service we offer. Yours is like, okay, I like this service. I don't like this service. How we get the money, that's not your problem now. Your problem should be that, have we done this successfully? Have we funded students to Canada? Yes, we have. Do we have the proof to show? Yes, we have. If you go to our social media page, you see pictures, videos. Even if you go to my YouTube channel, you see a lot of videos of candidates that we've done one-on-one sessions with. So you should not ask me. First Bank, if you go to your First Bank or Union Bank to get a loan, do you ask them where they get the money they give to you from? No, now. And you know, there's a funny question a lot of Nigerians also get to ask us, that why are you not putting the profile of the Nigerians that are taking your loan on your website? And there's a key question that you only ask people. Now, beyond the fact that, of course, there's the issue of privacy and respecting people's privacy. If you take a loan from a bank in Nigeria, let's say you took a loan of 20 million, 10 million, 5 million, 1 million, would you want that bank to go and put your name and your picture and their face on their Instagram profile, Facebook profile, on their website, just to prove to you that they give out loans? So it's the same thing with our process. In fact, see, when we invite our customers that have gotten our loan to come and talk on our platform, whenever we're doing the banner, like to publicize the program, they will plead with us that we should please don't put their face on the banner. And I'll surely use one of their names. Do you know why? A lot of the times, a lot of these guys don't even tell their family members they took a loan to come abroad. Taking a loan to study is not something we're used to in our part of the world. People are not used to that at all. You will rather beg your way, claw your way, plead your way, pay after to go to school. So the culture of people taking an international student loan is something that we're currently driving. It's a culture that we're driving, but it's new. Now you're even asking me good questions. When we started out last year, I can tell you, people, you know how many people call us scam, thief, ole, barawo, every time. Now we're even building credibility. Like we're now building a presence where people know us. People know that, oh, they have credible candidates that they funded, that they can verify. You can imagine how it was when we started out last year, when we had no record at all to back up our services. So I understand your question, but trust me, that will be the list of your problems. So somebody said iPhone Pro Max, like I mentioned before, you want to know the course you will study in school. So this is our process. You need to be a part of the platform. I'm not going to tell you where you can study. I will not tell you where you can study. That's not what this meeting is meant for. What you can study, you only get that answer when you become a part of the community. And you have that your one-on-one session with an academic counselor for 30 minutes. What you studied, your work experience, we get to look at all of those things and will not counsel you on what to study. The same also with Lady P. I cannot tell you what you will study. Can someone do linguistics, study tech? Lady P, it's not by that one. We need to know what your career history is. Then we can recommend courses you will study. Without that basic understanding, or there's totally a mismatch. I cannot tell you what you will study or not. So, and for you to get that level of clarity, you need a one-on-one session with an academic counselor. That academic counselor is one that will listen to your career, listen to your work history, and recommend courses that you can study based off your work history, based off that interaction. But it won't happen here. This is more like a generic marketing and webinar. So you want that one-on-one, you need to be a part of the community. Adenike, like I mentioned earlier, we do not provide any form of counsel legally on family matter. Our goal is to fund you to study. We're giving you a pathway that allows you to bring your family after. But if you are asking me about best time to bring your family, when to bring your family, open work permit for your family, ProconnectPAY got no business with that at all. Legally speaking, we do not have the rights or the license or the wherewithal to speak to that. But do you want to follow the same pathway Leonard followed? Go first, settle down, study, graduate, bring your family over with you. Totally fine, totally allowed. But you want to bring your family instantly. You want to apply for work permit for your open work permit for your spouse. That is beyond our pay grade. Our pay grade is to counsel you on student visa, provide financing that covers for you as a student. But can your family join you later? Yes, very possible. When is the best time for them to join you? That would be a question you want to ask an immigration consultant or a lawyer. Because like I mentioned before, there are so many intricacies when it comes to moving your family with you immediately. Even you need to settle down first to understand the way that economy works, the way that climate works. Yesterday, we had a one-on-one mentoring session with one of our candidates in the US. This lady is married with 3 kids. She practically left her kids and her husband in Nigeria to enable her resume first abroad. But she has that active plan once she graduates and gets PR in the US to bring her family over. It will be easier then for her to bring her family over because she's now gainfully employed. But you know what she says she does? That every day, at least a minimum of 1 hour, she's lucky. The bulk of her classes are online. She only gets classes twice a week. So every day for more than 1 hour, she talks to all of her children and another 1 hour with her husband. So that thank God for technology and the fact that, man, her classes are flexible. She can stay in touch with her family well, like she's still there. So that would be the same kind of sacrifice you must be willing to make in this instance and case. So Isaac, that's a very good question. Can you get a course that's related to your experience and professional certification, qualification? Isaac, we can only answer that question when you eventually become a part of the ProconnectPAY global education community. What can you study? What will you study? I can tell you for free. Your background, absolute sense. What you've done, absolute sense. But bro, you need to be a part of the community. We didn't put the currency in Ghanaian cedis, so you just need to convert what $450 is in Ghanaian cedis. Then, of course, you can also, like I said, you can make that first commitment of 64%. My colleague already said that's about 288 US dollars. Once you make that, I can see. And Isaac, if you are not eligible, I will tell you all are right now that you are not eligible. But your profile, your background, absolutely makes sense. What can you study? You need to be a part of the community so that you have that one-on-one session with an academic counselor. Ademola, the fees I've called is what covers your entire process. We help you to draft your resume, draft your statement of purpose, and submit your school application. If your school has an application fee, you are the one responsible for paying the application fee. So we're not the ones that the money you're paying to us is your service fee to ProconnectPAY. We do not pay application fee from your money. What you've paid is for ProconnectPAY. Application fee, that's your responsibility. Visa processing fee, that is your responsibility. I already mentioned it, Ademola. If you are getting our entire loan, you don't need proof of funds. We get to give you a letter of support that clearly states it acts as a proof of funds. And we even give what we call an endorsement letter that endorses you as an high potential candidate. So if you go to a school that does not cover cost of living, my guy, that cost of living proof of funds is still a cost you have to pay for. We offer that service through our bank partner in Africa, in Nigeria and Ghana, but you'll be responsible for paying the interest on it. And of course, showing that in your account statements. So do we offer that service? Yes, we do. But who is responsible for paying that fee? You are, if you want proof of funds. So, but by only, what you are seeing is a completely different process from what we're talking about today. So anything you're hearing today, just take it as what is legit and up to date as of today. Your $300K or $450. Philip, that tuition deposit is your responsibility. 650K that you pay to the college, for those of you going to the college. So you only pay that tuition deposit when you've gotten your admission. Getting admission to that college, I can say this confidently, 99% of the time you will get admission. So long as you're applying to a course that is consistent with your work experience. Exactly, Evangel. If our financing covers everything for you, I can tell you for free that to a large extent, you don't need to have money in your bank accounts. See, Evangel, the advice you should give to people is show money in your account as backup. There's nothing wrong in having backup. Your loan, your own personal account statement of 2 million, 1 million, nothing wrong. At least if you show money that you have money to even buy your tickets out of your country, because not showing any money will begin to doubt that all this your plenty profile. You say you have done this, done that, you've done that. How come you're not showing us anywhere you're making money from? So it makes sense to show your own account statement, because really it shows that you are earning an income from somewhere. You probably maybe have 1 million, 2 million that just back up there, that just sits there. So that's now, and I'm saying this now based on the feedback we've gotten from some of our candidates that got visas. That that's what our letters we give to them, that they on their own still put 1 million, 2 million in their salary account where they earn steady income, just to show proof that they are really earning money. Because if you say you work somewhere and you're earning a salary, you need to show you that, oh, this is what I earn. That's how they prove that this is not you are taking, you have the wherewithal to pay it back to post-graduation because you've been working before. So it's just something extra that would advise you, encourage you at that stage to do, based on the feedback and feelers we've gotten from candidates on our platform that have successfully gotten their visas too. But with or without it, our letter of support is sufficient. It works very fine for you. So, Chizoba Benson, that's a very good question. Very good question. Now, do we reimburse students that have paid their tuition deposits? That's totally between you and your school. Because what happens now is that if your tuition is $40,000, let me give an example, and you paid $1,000 tuition deposits, your school can decide to certify $39,000 as what we need to pay to you, to the school. So you are not have to go and tell your school that, see, guys, that 1K I paid you guys, I also need the reimbursement of that money, please. So can you add it to what you certify for me? So your school will ensure that they apply the money in full and give you back your $1,000. Very possible. But that's between you and your finance department of your school. So you can't really do anything about that until you get to Canada. But it's very possible. If schools think that will support you to settle down, they will give it to you. After the MSc program, can one continue making payments if one goes abroad for another study? But I don't know what you mean. No? Like you're already in Canada studying abroad. So why do you want to still go abroad again to go and study again now? And see, and this is just for the benefit of everybody. If we give our loan to go and study an MBA, MSc, or transfer BSc, ladies and gentlemen, we expect the only thing you should be doing when you are done, go and look for a job. We don't expect you to say, I'm not going to start a PhD immediately, or I'm not going to start doing another MBA or another MSc. Your only priority, graduate and look for a job. That's your focus, post-graduation. If you decide to pursue a PhD 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, that's totally your responsibility. No longer ours. It's between you and the new school you are going to. But maybe then you've gotten PR, so your school fees is going to be cheaper. Or you've gotten citizenship, and your school is now very cheap and affordable. But please, don't say, oh, I want to go and further my education in an PhD. Immediately I'm done with my BSc, with my master's. No. The goal is work, study, get a job, pay back our money in bits and pieces, spread into the years. Evangel, if you are blessed to get a scholarship, and of course, they even backtrack the payment they want to give to you to cover the former one that you've been paying. Yes, you can use that to offset your loan. Very fine, totally doable. Olayemi, like I mentioned before, except yourself and your wife are going to study. If the both of you are going to study abroad, the both of you will be handled as two independent individuals. Two independent individuals. Now, what can you study? What can your wife study based on the background you're giving to me? You need to make that initial commitment of 64%. Talk to an academic counselor. Once we agree on the basics, we'll know what you can study, what yourself and your wife can study. Then we're good to go. We'll now begin to move towards, of course, the school application process itself. But what can I do now? I can't tell you specifically until we have sufficient context when you have a one-on-one session with an academic counselor. The total amount of money you'll be paying to ProconnectPAY is 300K. You can pay it in 2 installments. You can pay 192K first and balance the remaining in 3 weeks before December 26th. Or if you want to pay the money in bulk at once, we give you outright 10% discount for doing so. If in any other part of Africa or the world, you get to pay for $50. You can also pay 64% of that, which is $288. Or if you want to pay the money in bulk at once, we also give you 10% discount, which means you also pay $405. So, Gloria, I think I've answered that question. So I studied mechanical engineering. Mustafa, how come you did BSc? You want to go for another undergraduate again? Which kind of thing with that now? Bro, if you have a tutu and you have work experience, I can tell you the school you can go to off my head like this in Canada. But I'm not going to tell you until you become a member of the network. Your experience is very similar to somebody that's already studying in Canada. Like very similar experience based on what you just told me now. So, Mustafa Kabiru, take that first step. Become a part of our community. It is easier to counsel and advise you. And like I mentioned before, if once you become a member of the community, I will have a one-on-one session with you, and we notice that you are not eligible for our financing, because see, the key thing is being eligible for our financing, and you're not eligible for our financing or our admission, we'll get to reimburse your money to you, but we'll just deduct 35K for the initial time we took in talking to you. So, John Inga, take that first step, pay the money, and we'll get you started. That will just be my final advice to you. Take that first step. See, John, if you're not eligible, I will tell you all and I am not eligible. That's something you have to realize, that in ProconnectPAY, we don't lie, we don't bobo, we don't falsify information. Do you know why? Everything we're saying today, a lot of people are here listening to it. So we don't lie, we don't falsify, we don't bobo information. We say things the way they are to the best of our ability. If we're not sure, we also tell that we're not sure. Let's go and make inquiry and come back. So, like I've told you, we have a policy. If you pay, and we now notice that this person will not be able to go, will not be able to get admission, we usually know within a week. We'll know very fast. We'll just refund your money back to you and just deduct 35,000. So at this summit, you can pay in installments. You can pay 192K first, then balance the remaining later. If you want to pay at once, we give you outright 10% discounts. Exactly, at this summit individually. Stephen, you are totally responsible for your tuition deposit. Like I mentioned before, any expense that you have, any money we go spend for Nigeria or Ghana or Kenya or Uganda prior to your resumption in Canada, that expense is on you, the individual. Lady P, thank you very much for Lassie. Like, I'm really wondering why Lady P is saying nobody answered that question. Lady P, who answered your question? Your question was answered. What you studied in school does not matter to us. What matters is your work experience. But the truth is that I cannot tell you what you can study or not in this call. This is a generic call. You want to know what you can study, you need to be part of the community. We need to hear what your work experience is first. You cannot just tell me, I did linguistics. Can I just push to tech? I already said it now. We don't fund diversion of careers here. So if your work experience is in a totally unrelated field to tech, we will not fund you. That's the real truth. But if your work experience is already in tech, even if you study linguistics, we will fund you because there's alignment between your work experience and the course you want to study. See, when people talk about a master's, what we get to confuse in Africa is that oftentimes we do masters for show. A master's in this part of the world is done to validate that you're a professional in this field and that you're willing to go above and beyond to acquire global knowledge, to become an expert in the field. It's an endorsement of your credibility as a professional. That's what a master's is for. So that's why oftentimes what you studied in school might end up being totally different from what you did, what you are now doing professionally. That thing you do professionally, that's your lifelong ambition. Oh, sorry, guys. That's your lifelong profession. Becomes what you do a master's in. But you need to have built credibility, history, a track record, success in the field to qualify for a master's. So you can't ask me that, what if I'm a linguist? Do I qualify? No. If that's what you've just told me, I'm not qualified at all. No. But if you study linguistics, but you have a clearly defined career path in tech, why not? Yes. But Lady P, like I mentioned before, we cannot know the context of your career until we speak to you one-on-one. We can't until we speak to you one-on-one. See by your own Leo. You they ask me, are you expecting me to download whatever you're attaching in the meeting? Seriously? So can a master's degree holder in public health apply to switch to nursing? Honestly, if you had a BSc in a science course, you can do an accelerated bachelor's in nursing program. Now that you have an MSc, can you switch to nursing? In my mind, I should think that should give you an advantage. So I would say yes, but it's still something we'll still need to do one-on-one. You know, more like what you said. Be part of the community. We'll take all of those qualifications. We'll send it to New Brunswick through Leonard to make inquiries. Does this person stand a chance of getting admission if they apply for this particular program? So that can now give us the yes or the no to now determine if we're refunding you or if we're now moving ahead. Lady P, if you pay at once in bulk, after we have our academic counseling session with you, that's when we'll get to know whether you're qualified or not immediately. For some of you now that we will need to take your certification and send it to New Brunswick, that might probably take like a week for us to get back to you. But during the academic counseling session, one-on-one that we have, we will know instantly whether you stand a chance or you don't stand a chance. So if we see that you do not stand a chance, we get to refund you instantly. But if you stand a chance, then we'll move forward. In the case where we need to confirm from a third party, like the school, that can take a week because that's not we now determining whether you're qualified or not. But on our own, we usually know who is qualified and who's not qualified instantly when you have that academic counseling session with us. So at this on me, the time is actually now, like instantly. So my colleague, please, you can drop your URL. Or my colleague will drop a URL at the bottom of this of the questions. So you can chat her up, of course, if you are ready to make your payments. Now, let me say this, like I said before, we are running this particular Canadian pathway in bulk for a certain number of individuals. And we're going to be launching the service fully on December 15th. So it means that anybody wants to be part of this cohort, you have only until December 15th to make your commitments. But we have this first phase where we say once we hit a certain number by December 5th, we'll stop accepting payments. Because we have this number of persons we want to fund, and we're just targeting that number. Once we hit that number, we're off. So if we hit that number tomorrow, next tomorrow, we're off. We'll just cut off accepting new people till next year. So very key, please. Once we hit the number that we're targeting, we'll just cut down till next year. Adenike, I can tell you for free that the service fee that ProconnectPAY is offering is extremely very low. When we look at what our competitors are doing or what others even do, we know people that charge up to ₦1 billion, 600K, and they do this, they help you get admission, guide you through the visa process without financing. We get to support you in facilitating financing. And don't forget that, Adenike, from today, if you pay that money today, till next year, we're going to be dealing with you. So ask yourself now, if you pay 300K to run the platform for 1 year to September next year, that's an average of about 20-something K monthly. Don't you think that is fair? Because we both know that nobody earns 27K in today's economy in Nigeria. Nobody earns that amount of money. Banyole, if you are going for this Canadian pathway, please, can you stop asking this question? It's becoming annoying. Can you please follow the information that is being shared in this meeting? You are sharing documents to me. Are we not the same person that shared that document and also updating our information here? So can you please stop what you are doing? If you are going for this Canadian pathway, we've already shared what the cost implication is. So you cannot start telling me this is what we said before. If we are talking about US, it's a completely different process from what we're talking about today. So can you please focus on information that is being shared now, and forget what you've heard before. Olayemi, so whether you can get the document, I don't know, but can you get the recording? Yes, the 2 recordings will be given to you. And the good thing is that all of these documents will be showcased in the recording. So yes, you can get the recording itself. The document, I'm not sure whether we want to share the document out because it's more like our internal document to use for our presentation. But can you get the recording? Yes, you can. Anybody can take the same document and go and do the presentation elsewhere. So we wouldn't want to be giving out our own intellectual knowledge. This is like intellectual property. We developed this from scratch on our own. So can you get the recording of this meeting? Yes, we'll share it on the group and of course via email to everyone. Then from next week Monday, you'll also see my colleagues calling every one of you as some form of follow-up from next week Monday. All my colleagues will be calling every one of you. Mustafa, you cannot transfer your master's and go and continue abroad. It's either you're starting a fresh master's entirely. That's the only option you have. You can't transfer masters from Nigeria to Canada. You are either going to start a fresh master's all over, or you probably go and do a PhD, and we don't fund PhD. John, Inga, I've answered your question. I've already told you, take that first step and join our network. That's the only answer I have for you right now. Joshua Anya. Do we offer courses in human resource? We don't offer courses in pure human resource. Do we offer courses in human resource, tech-oriented human resource courses? Yes, we do. Do we offer an MBA with a focus on human resource? Yes, we do. But the specific schools I've showcased here, I've already told you all the courses they offer. So if you're not seeing anything human resource, then it means they don't offer any of that program here. Jennifer, I think I've answered that question on the OCMT pathway. If you missed it, unfortunately, you will need to go and watch the audio again. We're going to share this video, the recorded version for everyone. So please, if you missed out that part, you will just need to go and watch the recorded session. I already spoke about the OCMT PGD pathway. Chizobam, you can get started with what you have. You can get started with what you have. You can get started with what you have. Okay, so we have just about 20 minutes left of our regular time. We have just about 20 minutes of our regular time. We have 20 minutes of our regular time before we call it a day. So wow, I didn't realize that we're like almost 1 hour to like our question and answer segments. So we have just about 20 minutes of our regular time. In Nigeria, it's already quite late. Yeah, in the US, it's just about past 1. So I know it's quite late over there for a lot of folks. So we'll just have about 20 minutes of our regular time so that folks back home can, you know, at least like, you know, go back, sleep and the likes. Okay, oh my God. You know that I completely forgot guys on YouTube. Oh my God. Somebody just accused me now that, Elder, you have forgotten us on YouTube. Oh. Sorry, guys. I need to go to the YouTube part. Let me see questions I can pick from there. Oh my God. I completely forgot the guys on YouTube and I told them to drop their questions. Okay, so YouTube people, let me come to you. Oh, I totally forgot the YouTube guys. Okay, so let's go to YouTube. Let's see the questions we can pick from YouTube. So where's the part 2 of my recording for today? Okay, so I'm coming, guys. I'm coming to the YouTube now. Let me ask question. Yes, the recording of this meeting will be shared via email. I wasn't going to share it on the WhatsApp group. Then, like I mentioned, for Monday, expect my colleagues to start calling you. So Monica, Grace, Okpeyemi, and Abigail, they're the 4 persons, you know, that you would expect that will begin to call you specifically on this Canadian pathway. So let me go to YouTube. Let me see the questions in the comments on YouTube. So if you have an ND, you are obviously not eligible for a loan or this pathway. You are not eligible at all. What if you have a master's that is not strong, but you have a master's? Yes, Olamide Akim Bobola. So yes, if you have a BSc and you now have a master's, so can you join the 2 of them to apply for a direct MBA or MSc in Canada? Yes, you can, Olamide. Very, very, very eligible to do that. There's someone says Dr. Evelyn, do I need to do evaluation for my Bachelor of Medicine? So Evelyn, it depends on the school you went to. If you went to a recognized university, you know, like you are Covenant University, schools that people already know, that they trust, I don't think you need to do an evaluation. But I understand your point, because you guys don't do first class or 2-1 or 2-2, so it's difficult to like measure where you guys are exactly. So in this case, I would say it's totally dependent on the school you are going to, and of course, because you're applying for. They might say do West valuation. They might say do not do. You don't need a West valuation. So my first advice, Evelyn, would be that take that first step, become a part of the community. It's easier to advise you then, you know, like when you're on board, so that we get to know the course and of course the school that you'll be applying to. But for me, I believe that having a medical background, that gives you a big advantage, you know, when it comes to even getting admission to schools in this part of the world, because obviously we know the hard work, you know, medical students put in to eventually graduate and, you know, like become doctors. So Maureen Flint, is there tuition deposit for UNB? Yes. Leonard said there's a $1,000 tuition deposit, Canadian dollars, not US dollars. There's a 1,000 Canadian dollars tuition deposit required by UNB. And he said it's not refundable. The only place where it's refundable is, of course, if you make a direct case to the program director, program coordinator for the school you're applying to. But he also said that the tuition deposit is valid for 2 years. So it keeps your slot for 2 years, where in case you do not get a visa the first time, you can try again second time, and of course you get your visa. So Onyechi, how do I know your cost of living loan when I don't even know the school you are going to yet or the city you are going to? No, nah. Onyechi, you can't ask me how much is your cost of living. Sure. When I don't even know the school you are going to or the course you are going for. You can only know that when, of course, you've decided on that. And you would only know that when you have a one-on-one session with an academic counselor. Anna, your school application fee is a completely different fee from the service fee you pay to ProconnectPAY. So anything school application fee, visa processing fee, all of that cost is on you. It's your extra cost on you. Yes, Joshua, we also provide proof of funds in select cases for candidates that are applying to universities we do not provide cost of living to. And if we're giving you cost of living from our own end, it simply means that you wouldn't need cost of living anymore, because our letter of support clearly states how much we're funding you with, including, of course, the cost of living. So your loan approval can come in 48 hours. 48 hours is that fast. You see, the biggest part of this whole process is not even the admission or the loan. It's usually the visa process. That's the part that is the biggest part of them all. Getting admission, getting approval for the loan, is that the easier part of this job. The hardest part of the job is ensuring that you can get a student visa. Exactly, not Kelly. So you've answered your question with your question. So, P-Sudoka, can a recent graduate with no work experience apply for the loan? If you're a BSc graduate and you have less than 3 years work experience, you're not eligible yet for our loan. But if you're an HND graduate going for a 2 years BSc program, then you are eligible for our loan. We tend to form people that have work experience who can verify. So you cannot just leave school now and suddenly say you want to get a loan, you can study abroad. What experience are you going to back up your master's degree with when you're not even sure of the career path you want to even take on? So you need to at least work for 3 years minimum for us to be sure that this is what you really want to do, for us to not invest our loan on you. Oh, yes, Emmanuel, Jonathan. A Nigerian and African living anywhere, even if you live in Bahrain, India, China, US, Canada, wherever you are in this world, so long as you're an African, you are completely eligible to access our financing and services. Paul Effa Jr., you totally are eligible, totally eligible. With the background you've given to me, you are totally eligible. Very makes sense work experience. It's very good. You also have an MSc in finance. So you're completely eligible. Yes. So Anna, it's obvious that, man, when it comes to getting information about ProconnectPAY, you are like 6 months behind, because I'm pretty sure that nobody in ProconnectPAY would even tell you that that's even the amount of money they pay to be part of our community anymore. So if you don't start out this year with us, like I mentioned before, once we hit our quota, the cohort number for this year, we're going to close down getting anybody on board, because we want to run the application simultaneously, like everybody at the same time, same pace, because there's a goal that everybody must resume next year, September. So my advice is do all it takes to be a part of the cohort for this very year if you want to resume next year, September. So Paul Effa, my colleague, has shared a URL that you can chatter on. Olanik Bekun, you are totally responsible for your tuition deposit, completely responsible for your tuition deposits. Idioma, we've mentioned the 3 schools that we give cost of living loan to. So we said UNB, you pay 1,000 Canadian dollars tuition deposits. Ontario College of Management and Technology, you pay 650,000 naira. In Northeastern University, you pay about between 500 to 1,000 Canadian dollars tuition deposits. Why we're not talking about the other schools? Because like I mentioned before, this is the 3 schools we're focusing on today, because we offer cost of living loans to them. If you want to go to other schools that don't offer cost of living loan, it's not having a one-on-one talk with you. We'll not let you know that, see, Ijoma, this your course you want to do that you're eligible for. These schools don't offer them, but look at the school that offers them. So will you be willing to go to that school, or you are responsible for your cost of living? Okay, yes, I am. No problem. You then go and do your research and find out if they collect cost of, if they take tuition deposit or not. But like I mentioned before, see, anybody going to Canada, just take it that, just have it at the back of your mind that all Canadian schools usually demand for tuition deposits, and they do that because the demand for their school is very high. So they need to be able to secure their slots by ensuring that you pay deposits. So all Canadian schools, just have that all Canadian schools charge between 1,000 to 500 Canadian dollars. What other schools we charge, I cannot say, because our research has not really focused on knowing what they charge. I've just given you information on schools we know and what they charge. So, Idioma Nedu, if you've gotten admission, which school did you get admission to, and what course did you get admission to? So you might just want to let us know what school and what course did you get admission to. Now, on YouTube, I don't think that URL that you guys are sharing, Grace, is actually working. So what I'll simply do is, can you share out your phone number, Grace, rather than sharing out the link, your WhatsApp URL? Why not type your phone number or your country code and put it in the Google, in the YouTube and chat? It's on YouTube, sorry, on Zoom. It's easy to click the link, but on this yeah, I don't think it's actually easy to. I don't think it's actually easy clicking on the WhatsApp them. So, Ijoma, if you already have admission to a school we collaborate and partner with, let's say hypothetically, you already have admission to a school we collaborate and partner with in Canada. So what you get to pay will be 192,000, just the initial 64%. And that can take you through your loan processing and of course our visa guardians. But that is if you've got an admission to a school we support and your work experience tallies with the course you are going for. So very key. So if your work experience doesn't tally with it, we wouldn't even tell you to pay because you wouldn't get approval for our loan. So Ijoma Nedu, you can just check out the comments down for my colleague's phone number. So you can just screenshot it or probably copy it and now save it and chat her up directly. So and Pubo, like I mentioned before, you need to speak to an academic counselor to determine what you are eligible to study. So you need to speak to an academic counselor. So it's not just a function of, can I study this? Can I study that? No, we don't do tinko kind of, can I study this or study that? Whatever you have to study, there has to be clearly defined purpose behind it. And it must be consistent with your work experience. So like I've emphasized, how do you know what you're eligible to study? And you need to be part of the community. And there's a guarantee that if you're not eligible, we get to refund your money, just deduct 35K for initial consultancy. See, one thing I can assure you is this. Even if you're not eligible for our loan, we're going to give you other options that are available. It might not just involve our financing, but we would obviously give you some form of direction. So at the end of the day, you're like, okay, I see got value, even with the 35K, I have to forfeit. Because we'll not just leave you like that stranded. No, we'll still give you some form of advice that at least gives you some sense of purpose as to, okay, other alternatives you can explore. And if the alternative is within ProconnectPAY, we'll also give it to you. We're a business, we want customers. So we wouldn't just throw you out because, oh, this person is eligible. No, we'll think of the best option available for you and, of course, offer them to you. So Shegun Awosejo, I think we've been able to explain the fee. The fee is 300K in total. As of today, you can make an initial payment of 192K, which is 64%. There's a guarantee that if you're not eligible for our loan, we get to refund your money back to you. And of course, deduct 35K for the initial consultancy. After making that payment, you then have till December 26th to balance out your payments. This money you are paying is the entire fee you would pay to ProconnectPAY for the next 1 year. What we offer in value in return, first, you meet an academic counselor for 30 minutes. You talk to us, we recommend the score and the cost to you. Once we've decided on that, we then work on your resume, work on your LinkedIn profile, work to your statement of purpose, and submit your score application. Once the school has given you admission, we now move to the visa, to the loan stage. We are not the ones that will help you apply for your loan. Once your loan has been approved, we then issue what we call our letter of support, including our endorsement letter. And of course, all the documentations you need for your visa processing, we'll also give it to you. That's more like guiding you. Then, like I mentioned during the meeting, we have this AI platform that allows you to arrange your visa documentation. That platform is owned by our Canadian partner in Canada. So once you input all of your details there, it will download all the documents you need automatically to apply for your visa. But of course, your statement of purpose, you have to draft it on your own. You have to personalize it now, including all of the templates you'll be given. Now, once you've gotten all of that document ready, you then upload it into your portal applying for your student visa. you've got your student visa, bro, you see yourself resuming in Canada. You resume in Canada, your loan is disbursed to your school, you begin your education, and of course, you begin to live your Canadian dream, taking on that education. You graduate, get a job, get PR, you begin to work, count down to citizenship. My guy, life is good for you. So it's simple, straightforward process. Anna Udogu, yes, we cover cost of living for those going to OCMT. So we recently had to flip that policy for OCMT by also including them amongst those that will give cost of and cost of living for. So Ahmed Olatubosun, very good question. And I love the fact that you've told me what you studied and what you currently are doing. My guy, you are eligible, but what specifically can you study? You need to speak to an academic counselor. We'll need to ask you more questions to get more context to your background so that we can now agree on if this course you want to go for is actually what you're qualified for. But just by looking at your background, man, you are good, you are qualified. So take that first step, become a part, of course, of the ProconnectPAY platform. So Anna, like I mentioned before, this process is time-bound, and we're trying to ensure that we keep to that time. If anybody is coming after December, January, you will simply be distorting our process, because what it simply means now is that we'll now start like backdating your job to meet up with others. And honestly, Canadian process is quite different. See, imagine sending up to 1,000 applications to the Canadian Visa Center. That's going to take a lot of work on the visa guys. So you want to ensure that you are getting people's admission early enough so that they can get their visa early enough. Imagine getting your visa 4 months to resumption. Man, like you have enough time to settle down, save your money, settle your family, do everything psychologically ready. And the best part is it gives us enough time to also do your pre-orientation departure. Because before you leave, we'll get to advise all of you as a cohort on what to expect. That's where we'll not be talking about your expectations in Canada as you are landing. So you're already preparing your mind. This is what I'll be expecting. This is what I will not be expecting. And at that point, we even invite people that have already in Canada to come and talk to you one-on-one. So you can see that we're not just about collecting your money, get the admission, get the visa, and we leave. No. When you've gotten your admission and your visa, there's a separate phase of advice and counseling we'll begin to give to you. Because like I said, we're very particular about your success. It's the only way we guarantee you can pay back our loan. So we're more like a mentoring platform. We're very particular about, we're big on mentoring. Anybody that knows me, Elder, will know that Elder is big on mentoring. So we're very big on that. So the goal is to ensure that from the get-go, everybody's being given the right OT, the right information to enable you at least settle down, acclimatize, and of course, begin to take advantage of the good opportunity that this platform provides. So my advice is that take advantage of the timeline. Make that initial. You don't have to pay the full money this year. Honestly, if you pay the initial money now and you come and meet us like, oh guys, please, so December is a very tough time, man. I have to take care of myself, my family, a lot of expense. Can I pay the balance next year? Maybe at the end of January. On a one-on-one basis, we can always give that kind of concession. We're humans, so the concession can always be given. But initial commitment, we're closing all of that this year because we want to ensure that during the holidays, when all of you are eating your chicken and your rice, we in ProconnectPAY will be doing the full job. The goal is to ensure that everybody application is done and dusted by January. And the best part is this: ProconnectPAY recently launched out is human intelligence software, more like an AI tool that drafts statement of purpose in 2 seconds. So that's the best part of what we are doing now in ProconnectPAY, that we've now been able to modernize our process. So now we can draft statement of purpose in 2 seconds, and we've trained it based on our own model and framework of what to draft statement of purpose in 2 seconds. So that, of course, is changing the game for we internally on how we deliver candidates' jobs. Of course, faster, more efficiently, and more professionally. So, Deji, if you are going to the college, if you are eligible for the college pathway, you can even resume second quarter of next year or June. But the university is September. That one I cannot even bobo you. Most universities in Canada today are waiting for September next year, not this year. And I can tell you that, for people that want to resume next year, September, applying right now where you're already very late for Canada, very late for Canada. Because Canada opens application in September. for next year, September. So if you're applying now, next year, late this year, next year, we're already even late. Over 100 people, over 100 countries across the world apply to get admission to Canada because of that unique value that comes with being able to get citizenship in the long run. So you can imagine the level of competition. And like I said, Canada does not have the large number of universities America has. America has over 7,000 universities. Canada has less than how many thousand? I mean, I don't think up to even 1,000 or even 500. So you can, and we will only partner with 35 schools. So imagine thousands of people applying to 35 schools across the world that accept international student loan. So you can imagine the kind of competition you are having. And see, you guys are just one badge. You are Nigerians, you are one badge of our customers. By January, we are launching our services fully in India for Indians. And trust me, Indians are the king when it comes to studying abroad, particularly in Canada. Like Indians, they are the ones that terrorize the entirety of Canada. So you can imagine the load of persons that obviously applies to these schools. That's why they will tell you, apply early, apply on time, get admission early, do your visa process early, so that you have 4 or 5 months of rest to now focus psychologically on finalizing your final things to move out of Nigeria or Ghana or Kenya or India or wherever. So Olanik Pekun Claire, do we have courses in teaching? I don't know what you mean by do we have courses in teaching, but do you want to ask now, do we have courses in education we support? Yes, we have education technology courses we support. If you are going for an education technology course as a teacher, yes, we support educational technology courses. Ada, that's a very good question. If you have a baby of less than a year old, you obviously cannot leave your baby of less than a year old in Nigeria. So yes, when you have babies that are less than a year old, that you still have to breastfeed, it's very easy. You know why it's very easy? Because even your lecturers in Canada or the US can accommodate you a nursing mother. You know, they can allow you to bring your baby to classroom. So it's totally possible, totally doable. A year-old baby shouldn't even be left with a nanny or even anybody that's not the direct mother or that particular child. So Anna, very good question too. If you are not, Anna, if you're not eligible, I will tell you all that you are not eligible. You're a tech person, you want to go for a tech course. You shouldn't be asking me if you're eligible. The experience is clear. You get tech background professionally. You want to study a tech program. That is clear-cut eligibility now, you being eligible. But what can you study specifically in that tech field? You will need to have a one-on-one with us so that we can now agree together that, okay, that this is the best course for you. So Onyenyechi, my advice would be that speak to Opeyemi. If you're already on our platform, please, Onyenyechi, speak to Opeyemi. That would be my advice. Speak to Opeyemi, please. If you're already on the platform, so it means you already know about our internal processes. Please speak to Opeyemi. So that would just be the advice I would give. Speak to Opeyemi. Opeyemi will guide you on what you need to do next. Okay, so now I'm done with YouTube. Let me quickly go to, oh my God, time has gone already. Okay, so let me just quickly use the last few minutes to respond to the final questions on Zoom. So let me see. Okay, so Chizoba Benson, that's a very good question. Opeyemi, please drop your URL directly under Chizoba Benson's comments. She's saying that can we give discount for couples? Yes, Chizoba, we can consider giving discount for couples. So please just chat up my colleague. She will tell you what to do. Just chat up my colleague. She will come and ask me that what can we do? Then she will also tell you what to do. So Opeyemi, please, can you drop your comment directly underneath Chizoba Benson's comments? Where you said discount is for individuals, not as a couple. So in this case, yes, we're willing to give discount for couples that want to onboard together. So what that discount will be, Chizoba, please chat up my colleague. Any other person that also has their husband and wife that wants to come on board together as one, or your brother, your sister, you can also chat up Opeyemi too. We'll give discount if you're coming as a couple or as a sibling or as a family. So we can offer that discount. So Abiola, if you're an HND graduate going for a transfer BSc program, you don't need work experience because you're a transfer BSc program, you're going for transfer BSc. You don't need work experience as an HND graduate going for transfer BSc. As a current undergraduate going for transfer BSc, you do not need work experience for that. But you need to do West valuation for your HND. So Uchenna, if you're already a member of the network, please chat up with Amy. She's going to tell you what you will need to now balance out based on what you paid when you onboarded into the platform. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, it's 9 o'clock on the dot. I think we should call it a beautiful day. Please, I can assure you that my colleagues will call you this coming week. They'll call every one of us this coming week. So we can just put our phones, ensure that we look at our phone, our messages, WhatsApp messages. We'll be calling out to everybody. We look forward to welcoming and, of course, working with every one of us in actualizing this dream and ambition of ours to acquire a global education, but more importantly, to also acquire that Canadian citizenship. It's our hope and our belief that by this time next year, we'll be in Canada, also wearing our own sweater or big coats, also covering ourselves, of course, with the cold, but of course, good cold in this instance, because our dreams and our ambition has come to reality. So we look forward to welcoming every one of us into this special Canadian pathway that ProconnectPAY has designed for your benefit. We thank you, of course, for taking 3 hours of your life to attend to this webinar. It's not easy. So we totally appreciate your presence, your time, and of course, all of the questions that we've asked today. My name is Elder. I work as CEO of ProconnectPAY, and we look forward, of course, to welcoming and servicing you on our platform. Do have a wonderful night, and of course, a wonderful afternoon for those of us in this part of the world where it is still daytime. Thank you very much.